to hear what you're thinking.
Should I do the, should I,
I've got the I've got the mouse here for the,
okay,
isn't that great? Do it from here.
Right.
We've just made so many improvements, Joyce. It's just, that's the thing, is one of the themes is we just keep getting better here as Amers. We're trying. We have a long way to
the
go.
continuous improvement thing,
Continuous
right?
improvement. But, well, I guess I would start because I feel like today's gospel is really, sets the tone for so many things. And I could probably say that every Sunday, right? And since we are a gospel-centered Christian community, we go through all the gospels, and some of them are really kind of like eye-opening. And today's is that way. And I'll just summarize it. So in Luke, these crowds are following Jesus. And so whenever Luke uses a crowd, we think it's kind of like, it's a lot of people. I mean, hundreds of people, and probably all forms of manner. And when crowds grow, they're interested, like, wow, that looks fun. Let me get in there. I want to be part of that. And crowds have problems with them, right? Because they don't really, there's not a lot of control over them. There's not any commitment, right? People can scatter easily. But on the one hand, they do happen. And all of us have probably been part of a crowd at some point. And so Jesus turns very clearly and addresses this crowd and says, okay, let's get something straight here. If you're going to be following me, I just want you to know, you should understand what you're getting into. And he says, you need to hate your mother and your father and your brother and your sister and your aunt and your uncle and your pappy and everybody, right? So, and then he gives these examples. So who building a tower doesn't estimate like how to build it? Because if you're halfway through and you can't finish it, that's just terrible. And then he uses this other metaphor of a king going to war who sees this war other king coming with an army, and if there isn't a way to handle that, the king needs to send out for a peace treaty. And I think what Jesus is saying is that's not being a coward. That's just assessing what really is happening. And for the person who doesn't finish the tower, not building the tower is not failure. It's not shameful. But don't build it don't start unless you know what you're doing. So this gospel, Jesus says to hate your parents. So the problem with the translation, it's a little problematic, because I think we associate hate with anger and just bad, negative feelings. We should be angry and at our parents, and that's really not what it is. This word in Greek is miseo, M-I-S-E-O, and it means to reprioritize, rebalance. So we feel very close and connected to sometimes we don't, to our parents and to our immediate family, but we're creating a new, it's reshuffling everything. It's a new reality. And so what that is exactly is going to play out. I mean, we know what happens and so forth, but I think at this point, in terms of the church here, we get a chance to reassess. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And I think we hear this call to remember kind of what Jesus is, how he's restructuring, recalling us into in a totally different kind of community. So I think that's what we're called to at St. Mark, is to live into this being, not just following Jesus, because that's one thing, but becoming his disciples. And just to tell you, or to tell us what that is, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, there's many aspects to it, and all of us have our own kind of understanding of that. But I think we could all agree that it's not easy, and that there are things that are involved that mean great sacrifice and difficulty, and today definitely countercultural. So countercultural. And we know that there are Christians who are really promoting and supporting policies that are completely, I mean, as a Christian, you just are dumbstruck by how they are able to do things, really, hurting those people who are marginalized. These types of actions that are really hurting the most vulnerable. I mean, that's about as anti-Jesus as you can get. So modern Christianity has set up all sorts of ways to rationalize this, and so we have to say that those rationalizations are wrong. They're just wrong. And this is hard because most of Christianity is doing it, right? So it's like we're this little squeaky voice here, and it's really hard. We want to grow. We want to be but it's hard to grow when you're saying something that's out of sync with all this other Christianity. So anyway, I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer, but I want to also like call us to to the tower that we're building, And also, people like, I don't want to be part of that. That's okay. Jesus never says to the people who don't follow him, he doesn't judge them or condemn them. In fact, he says to certain people, you go over there. You can't follow me. Go over there. It's not it, but those who are following him or becoming his disciples, he really wants them to understand what the commitment is, to be clear about it. Esther, go ahead.
Can you address that last sentence? Because I don't understand it. So, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions.
I think that's the reordering of it. You have everything. Your possessions are kind of your worldview. We have to completely let go of this thing that we've become attached to. And I think
so not material things.
Well, maybe, like, I think, a few weeks ago when we were looking at the gospel, it was like, where your treasure is, there's your heart also, so it seems like it could be.
I think there are people who are so obsessed, and if it's at its worst, it's called hoarding. Right? That's like the extreme, and hoarding is where, you're so like depending on these things, and a lot of it can be garbage, right? A member of this church has a brother who's a hoarder, and it's just everything has to be thrown away, which is awful. So it's a disease, right? And feel compassion toward those people who have it, but we probably all have a little bit of a hoarding problem.
Because I don't go to my basement, but that's not hoarding so much as laziness.
Inertia.
Right.
That's my problem.
And it's kind of it's just a factor of when we live now, and the materialism that we're surrounded by. Jan, yeah.
How do you approach hoarding to let go? Or what do people who find they have excesses in certain things, how do they feel inside as far as reasons for holding on and getting more and more and more?
Yeah, so I'm not a therapist, but I can give maybe some thoughts on this, and that it really comes from a place of, I've heard of this detachment problem. And trauma. And so we find safety in things because we didn't have it from human relationships, so we have it from objects, because this I can control. This is not walking away from me. If I have it and I have it near me, it feels safe. And you just multiply that by. But the problem with material things is that this isn't enough. I need more safety. So let me add this and this, and can I have this? Here we go. And it just never stops. And the need for safety is limitless, right? And so quarters can't let go of one thing. So it's a mental health problem, and it needs help. You know, it's so easy to say to somebody who's overweight, just eat less, just throw away some of your stuff. You know, I mean, it's like, that's not helpful.
It's also, I think there's also a situation where people didn't have things when they were growing up or when they were younger and hoard because they have a fear of not having it again.
I think fear is a big word here. A lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and a lot of, obsessive compulsive stuff. I've got a hold on it. Just letting go, it's too scary.
Yeah, I remember my grandma on my dad's side passed away a bunch of years ago. She was a hoarder, and she would sleep on the floor just so she could stack things on her bed. Like, she could not let go of things. Like, and she was a great person. You know, you wouldn't know if you weren't at her house. She loved God. She was faithful. It was just, she couldn't do it. Like, she had all these unopened clothes. She said, but what if I need them? And we're just like, you've never worn them. I don't even think they fit anymore. And she's like, well, we need to keep them. So it's like this constant struggle. I think my grandparents on my mom's side actually cleared out her house when she moved out here. And they couldn't even walk in the door. Like, it's scary how fast it can spiral out of control. And it's a lot of fear and a lot of, I hate to say it as someone with OCD, but it often overlaps with
It's
OCD.
a mental health problem. And so I do think that the depression that this country experienced and all over the world, you know, when people had nothing, people came out of the depression, you know, keeping everything was, that was an issue. And I think the generations who've, like, if you have, I feel like I'm tainted with a little bit of that too. And so.
This isn't hoarding, but I think of, like, if you think of, Jeff Bezos, who's like buying bigger and bigger yachts and accumulating things, and then his ex-wife, who's giving as fast as she can possibly give it away. And I, you know, that's an interesting contrast to me.
I think there's a little competition between them, don't you think?
Who can accumulate more and who can give away more?
Kind of like,
I think even on like a smaller everyday scale, it's like we hold on to things. Or even like with money, like you'd be like, I have the money to help more people and donate more, but then you're like, oh, well, I need it, you know. So there's kind of like in everyday life of like, how much do we hold on to versus we give away? It's always a challenging one.
And this is such a like bold statement. Give up all. It's like you don't think about it. Don't think about which do I need. Give up all, and it's like, yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's also what he said to the rich young ruler.
Right.
Sell all your possessions and give it to the poor.
Right.
There's some themes here.
Yeah.
And statements about wealth that Jesus made about rich people and being harder to enter the kingdom. I think they're hard. I think they're hard words. I have trouble thinking that there were a lot of hoarders in the time of Jesus. What did they hoard? You know,
Right.
They didn't have all the stuff we have. I don't know.
yeah, I think it's really about your world turning upside down is what it is. And when we start to think of our family being, through in baptism, we become a family. And so we're connected to people all over the world through time, right? And this is our family. And so and that goes out to all people, the whole world. And so how do we treat everybody with the kind of love that Jesus has? And that is what we're called to do. And it's so hard. I mean, it sounds sweet, but it's brutally hard, especially because it's so countercultural.
And it seems like it's a willingness to just give up all. Yeah, give your all.
And one of the things you may have heard it already, but you're gonna hear it, is that Christianity makes it hard to follow Jesus. And I think that's the truth. I've heard it the other way around. Jesus makes it hard to be a Christian, but it's actually Christianity makes it hard to follow Jesus. I think that's actually more, I mean, they're both true in some ways, right?
Well, and by that, do you mean organized religion makes it hard to follow?
I mean
Jesus?
Christianity. I don't want to talk for all religions.
Okay.
Just the Christianity that I know is being practiced in this country in its various forms is really an obstacle to becoming a disciple. And so they're not here to argue with me, but anyway, yes, Jan.
I was wondering, is there possibly a definition of possessions that we're not hearing or seeing, or?
I mean, I think
we
yes.
miss?
Well, I mean, there are all kinds of possessions,
I know.
right? We possess our claims, our understanding of God can be a possession. Our routines, just our beliefs can be a possession that we hold on to. That need to be, and this all needs to be kind of turned upside down.
And I think Jesus speaks often in hyperbole, kind of in order to shake up people, in order to make you stop and think. If it's like, oh, give up that little extra that you're keeping, everybody, yeah, no big deal. But he says this in such a broad sweeping, give it all up, hate your parents, it's, I think that hyperbole makes you stop and think about it more.
I don't know what you're saying with the whole flipping everything on its head. I was thinking about the fact that, especially for these disciples in that period of time, part of the flipping of the head was really giving up a lot of their possessions and safety. And if you just think about especially the 12 disciples, or as they go on, they're not really living a comfortable or luxurious life. A lot of them, are in prison or being persecuted. And so there's this, I don't know, this kind of, for them, possessions was kind of more about possession or material safety, I suppose, in some ways. And
Well, what right?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, they leave. Remember those great scenes of them leaving the boats. They're fisher. They left there what they knew how to do. Their daily routine they left to go into this thing like that is completely unknown to them. So I want to look at some of the things in the bulletin because it speaks to what's going on at St. Mark's. And so I feel like we want to we want to do both. We want to be a place that has a well cared for facility, right? Because we need this to do our ministry, and we want to take good care of it. And that takes money, and it takes time, and it takes people to put effort into that. And so that's all good, right? And the question is when do things get out of whack? If all you're doing is worshiping your building, right? And you can't do anything else, that's a problem. So we want to try to keep balance. And so I guess that's one of the themes as well, is balance. We do have, we wear these vestments that are expensive, and it can look like, we're parading but I think the balance is that these are part of the way we bring dignity and importance to worship, right? We want the people who are doing certain things, performing roles in leadership, to have a role of, we want them to have that sense of carefulness, and but we don't want to place clergy on a pedestal, and that happens so much, right? And talking to a guy yesterday, he's like, George, I feel like we're on the same level. I don't feel like I'm intimidated by you. And I'm like, Sergio, that's great. No, that's good. And I don't know if that's true for everybody, but that's what I want it to be. But I do feel that clergy, for example, can get caught up in feeling like they are special or holier, you know, and that leads to all sorts of problems with clergy, right? Because they can't live into it. And they get sick and they do bad things sometimes, you know, but like everybody, you know, so, but how do we have this balance of, you know, looking opulent with our stained glass and our beautiful building and our grounds and how do we see it in the right way? And I don't want to rationalize it. I want to see it as part of a balance. Another thing about St. Mark's, and you hear this a lot, is that we are in a place that is, it's a great location, and how do we as a church offer that to ourselves and the community so that people can find support here and what we really care about, which is dignity and respecting people and helping people. So this place is just alive with all of that going on, and that's intentional. So just give you an example. Yesterday, what happened at St. Mark's is we started with there are people getting here at around 7 a.m. They set up for an evening meeting, and there are at least 60 or 70 people who come to that. And they're great, because yesterday they couldn't be in their normal space. They went to the basement and set that up, and they were great. And then at 8 o'clock, or before 8, there was a group gathering here, a men's group. They gather every Saturday, and we're here for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And there's John, you were here, and it's a good group, supportive. Then at the same time, there were people gathering in Mann Hall for the DOK assembly from our whole diocese. All the DOK were invited, and they had about 40 women here, and they had a workshop, and they used Mann Hall. Then at around 10 o'clock, people started coming here for a Hispanic youth event, and they filled this room, and then they ended up going to Mann Hall after the women were gone, and we used the sanctuary for 2 services yesterday. We also had a meals ministry. Their Meals to Go was working in the kitchen, creating stuff for people to go, and I think they created 60 meals that all went. Hester, I think, did you get a couple of them or not? No, somebody else took some of them, because they knew somebody who needed them. I wasn't sure if it was you. Somebody else took some too. So that was going on. And so there's that's just an example of, there were 2 12-step meetings, classrooms 201 and 202. One is CODA and the other one is it's Al-Anon, which is a support group for people who live or have alcoholism in their lives. They aren't alcoholics per se. They could, I don't know, maybe they could be, but they have alcoholics in their life, and so it's a support group. So turn to page 17 of this, if you have the 8:30 bulletin, and just the looking ahead gives you a sense of what's going on at St. Mark's, because I feel like what we're doing also says a lot about who we are and what we're trying to be.
That's page 19 if you have a 10.
Oh, if you have a 10:30 bulletin, it's 19. So
Yours, because it's marked up.
Okay. Does it have like, where is Joyce written on there? Or?
No.
Sorry. So you can just see, just kind of walk through this. So kickoff Sunday festivities today. Lifeline screening. What's Lifeline? So that's a group that is not a St. Mark group, but they do medical testing for people, and people pay to do that. But here in our parish hall, we become an accessible place for people to come and get this screening for their health. And some of you may have participated in that. We did something like that a few years ago. We do it, I think, twice a year, Lifeline, but I've done something like that, and they found something on, I think, my kidney, which I went and had checked out, and it was fine, no problem. But other people have found things that were concerning health-wise. So this is a good way for us to provide this opportunity for people. So on Friday, also, we're unloading moms. Hester, do you want to say a word about that? Why are we doing that?
So the mum sale raises funds for the food pantry, Glen Ellyn food pantry, and the walk-in ministry, the Glen Ellyn walk-in ministry. So I don't know how many years we've been doing it. I've just been doing it 3 years.
About before the pandemic, so I'd say 7 years. Yeah.
So we usually raise about $4,000 profit gets split between those two organizations. If you want to help, come Friday at 1 and help unload. And then we do need some sales people for the next 2 weekends. So there's a sign up out there or online.
But
What-
looking ahead also doesn't mention the youth night, which is happening Wednesday night.
Oh,
And-
there's, yeah,
and it
no, the
doesn't
looking,
mention a binding truth. which
looking ahead is
happening
not
Tuesday
a,
that I hope you all come to.
yeah. So Joyce has a good point. We talk about like what to put in looking ahead, and so some of like our specific, this is more like things that happen not necessarily on a regular basis.
But a binding truth didn't get in there, and that doesn't happen on a regular basis.
Well, I guess
Looking
it's
ahead.
true, yeah. We're not perfect, so we're gonna keep
We have,
working. You know,
we have staff meeting arguments about this.
well,
Why does the women get to have their patio, their meeting in there, but the youth night couldn't have their kickoff in there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
I feel no contention at all right now.
no, it's not, it's just, we're trying to like continuous improvement in St. Mark's, so we're gonna work on it.
Just keep getting better. That should be my banner.
But one of the things about the mum sale that is, I think a couple of things about it are that it, so we're using our property in a good way. We have a busy street. The mums are out there and people see them and it looks beautiful, first of all. They look like, if they're in their normal state, they look like broccoli all over because they're not blooming yet. So you get these plants, they're $12, which we get 100% profit on them, which is great. So, and they're still not, affordable, $12 for this really nice plant. We also, so it kind of, we enhance the beauty of the community. Then we also have an honor system. We don't always have people selling there, but people can certainly take a mum plant or buy them and then pay using an honor system. And people do that and it works really well. So I think that says something about the culture we're trying to establish and kind of affirm is one of honor system. And then we raise this money to help these great organizations that are helping those in need. Food Pantry, the Glen House Food Pantry, and the Watson Linux. So then on Saturday we have Tanya Carey, who's one of our members, plays cello. She's having a special concert. Celebrating, I'm not sure it's really her retirement, but in a way it is. She wants to have this concert to conclude a chapter in her career.
Her 15th retirement?
Her 15th retirement, So obviously music is a big part of our life here. And we have 2 choirs. We have the St. Mark's Singers who we're rehearsing now, and we have the Coro de Alabanza, which is things at the 1 o'clock service. And we have instrumentalists and we have instruments, including our pipe organ and pianos and on and on. So, this is a place that music is core to our life, our expression of joy and community. So it's music is about who we are, and we want to continue to grow that. Next Sunday, there's going to be a Q&A for newcomers after the 10:30 service. So for anybody who wants to just chat with the wardens and me, we're going to be in Lehman Parlor. And then there's a vestry meeting. The vestry is our church council, and they meet monthly and they review our finances, our strategies, just the general overall work of the church. If you're interested in being on the vestry, let me know. Then on the 18th, St. Mark's is going to be the location for the Glen Ellyn Association that has been doing these illuminated concerts. They have candles and musicians come, and so it'll be in our parish hall. And it's not, we didn't organize it, but we are hosting it. And I know both of them are sold out. So we'll have hundreds of people here in our beautiful space, enjoying music and the environment of a community event. So anyway, and also there's the art exhibit reception and artist talk on the 19th. So you'll see in the parish hall, we have a new art exhibit by our member, Dan.
In the sanctuary.
In the sanctuary, and Dan Labraco. He is a teacher, but he's an artist. He teaches art. And I've been after him to have a show at St. Mark's, and so we finally have it. So it's great. We have an art committee that helps bring these exhibits, installs them, hosts reception. So if you're interested in that, that's a wonderful group. So anyway, I want to stop going through and I want to just turn to a couple things in the announcements. So let's look at Finding Truth. It's on page 22. And Joyce, you could say something about that. Why are we doing that? What is it?
Well, last year, we have a group at St. Mark's called Sacred Ground, and it is part of, it's a program that was started by the National Episcopal Church in 2018. And they had a curriculum of films and books that during the pandemic, the group from St. Mark's met on Sunday morning, one on Tuesday evening, and went through that curriculum. And after completing the curriculum, said, let's keep meeting. So the Sacred Ground group has continued to meet and welcomes new people who didn't go through that program to join us at any time, or just for occasional events. So there's some confusion about what Sacred Ground is. The very first thing this group did when they formed after the pandemic was a land acknowledgement, which you see outside on the door. And we had Joseph Running Bear come and speak, and we had a celebration with dancers. And because the term Sacred Ground sounds like it's Native American or Indigenous people think that that's what the group is, but the group is much broader than that. The group really looks at a variety of issues of race and faith, and the curriculum that was developed by the National Church looked a lot at Black and white issues, but also at Asian, at Latino, and other marginalized groups in our country. So if you're interested in learning more and expanding your worldview, I think that any of the Sacred Ground events are really important are great to come to. So Finding Truth is what happened is the Northern Illinois United Methodist Conference last year got a bunch of people together to all sponsor a film and we sponsored Origin. So each church or organization was able to just pay a small fee and be able to bring the film. So this group decided they wanted to continue, and this year they're doing a Finding Truth, and it's being offered at about 15 different locations. So you can, if you scan here where it says register, it will give you all the different locations. It's happening between September 10th and September 16th. The location at St. Mark's is on Thursday, September 11th. We really hope people will come in person, but you can also register to get the link and watch it at home. So, so I think because our registration last I checked was about 16 or 20 people, I think we're going to do it in here instead of in Mann Hall, because the TV picture and sound is much
But we'll just see.
But we'll see on.
To get to Mann Hall takes 2 minutes.
Yeah,
here, so
yeah, right.
Change, but.
Yeah. So,
But, I mean,
it's a really good film. I've watched it, and I really recommend it.
So I think, like offering a Finding Truth means we're also working with other organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're partnering, but it really is a core commitment to racial reconciliation, which is in the wheelhouse of Jesus 100%. And what we're talking about in terms of the new family that we are in Christ and how we learn about that and work toward that. So this is just core to who we are. And next week at this adult formation, we're going to be learning about the refugee resettlement situation in the Chicago area. So that's another, we have somebody coming from Exodus World Services who will be here to talk with us. And again, that's important for us to understand, refugees Chicago's always been a place that people have found safety here, and either permanent or temporary. And of course, we know this is under attack. who's qualified to refugee, who comes in, all of that has been really curtailed and narrowed. And so it's something we should really care deeply about and understand. So that's why that's being offered, and that's next week. Turn to page 26 of your bulletin. It's kind of all over the board, and there's that Dan Labracco's exhibit, something about him. And so his title of his exhibit is Landscapes and Musings. And I think, art is, I mean, how could you possibly separate art from spirituality? And, he brings all that he is to his art. And so we get to see this is great talent. And so I feel like it's an inspiration to us. And so he's really wonderful for him to bring that to us. But and art around us, is we have so much art at St. Mark's of different kinds. And so to have this in our sanctuary as a gift to us as we pray, as we gather and worship, but also to the community, people who can come through and see his art. And churches have always, or historically, were places where there was culture and people could come and gather either for music. And so for us to bring this here is just, we're kind of going, what's old is new, having art in the church. I mean, our stained glass windows are art, spiritual art, but but there's more than just having that. And this is, some people say it's a stretch, but I don't see it at all as a stretch.
And if you haven't come to one of the artist receptions, they're really lovely. There's food, beverage, music, and a chance to really look closely at the art and then hear from the artist.
So I've got a few more minutes before I have to go, and then of course you guys can continue to talk. But
I have a question too.
oh yeah, go ahead.
We had this fundraising thing a while ago.
Oh,
Nothing was
okay.
torn up.
okay.
When did that all end?
You didn't notice it all happened?
I missed it.
We did it so quickly.
I know.
And
Register on
so
That's fine.
my hope is that it would be in the bulletin this week, but it will be there next week, kind of like a grow and renew update,
Yeah.
and particularly in the narthex renovation. So right now we are engaging with the attorney, the architects, and really developing a plan. So we're hoping that the construction might begin right after the first of the year. And we're not sure about the timetable. One, I was hoping that it would be ready by Easter, which would be so great. But now I'm thinking kickoff Sunday next year, we'll have a new narthex. I'm not really sure yet of the timetable, but it's moving forward. We have a team and we will be getting updates on a regular basis. But we had as you know, we did a capital campaign that was successful. We exceeded our goal. And we're excited to accomplish the three things. The three things were to pay off the bank mortgage, which will happen the payment is due in the end of June. And we have that money already escrowed and ready. So that's a done deal. But right now we can earn a little bit more. We could pay it off, but we can earn more on the interest than we are paying on the interest rate. The other thing is that so that was the first tranche of money. Pledges are going to continue to be paid. And as that money comes in, we'll have enough money to finish to do the narthex. And then also we have these, our HVAC system is various, but we have a big boiler room. If anybody wants to go see it, I'd be happy to show it.
I can get people in there too. It's very exciting.
It's exciting. I mean, the thing about it is that, if you go to church, like basements and boiler rooms, they're dingy and weird and scary. And this is not. I mean, it's like, it looks great, but the furnaces or the boilers are 25 years old. And, our HVAC technician says, well, I mean, this is the lifespan, 25 years, and they could last for a while longer. I hope they do. But if they don't, we'll be ready to replace them. Look on page 30, your bulletin, the 8:30. in particular. Don't look at the 10:30 because it's not there. Do you have an 8:30 bulletin near, Joyce?
Yes, Molly has one.
So you'll see there's a map of the there. And,
Oh, didn't make it into the concert?
well, we had to kind of
Yeah,
move things
right.
up. But, so we are praying for the states of Mexico and one per week in the coming months. The reason we're doing that is 2 years ago, we started by praying for the countries of the world. We prayed for 3 every Sunday because that's the way we could get through them. And then last year we prayed for each state of the United States, and now Mexico, because many of our St. Mark's members come from Mexico or were born there and have family there. And I think it's important for us to know more about Mexico. And so today we're praying for the state of Aguas Calientes, which is right in the very center. And it's that little green dot, kind of like in the middle, Aguas Calientes. And so we'll keep praying for them in alphabetical order and learn more about Mexico.
I like to add to it, that map I showed you of El Norte, when I drew it on our map of the United States, because the, Mexico included, all of the United States, all the way up to Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
A very great big piece. In that part of the United States, all the people were conquered by Spaniards. The official language was Spanish. The place names are Spanish. And all of those people were simply included.
Except for San Antonio. No, I'm joking. But I think, so one of the things that we can do this year is have a map like that in the bulletin, and if, Edna, you would be very helpful to, so we could say, you know, if, in terms of our education about the history of Mexico is that. So I think that would be good. One other thing about, you know, like, so St. Mark's, a lot of churches are Sundays only. We are every day of the week. We have a preschool that is called the St. Mark's Preschool, and it is Monday through Friday. We also have Parents' Day Out for children who are ages 2, 3, and 4. And they're 2 separate programs, but they kind of coexist beautifully. And so St. Mark's is filled with children all week long, and you know, they're beautiful programs. They're just really, they each have their own kind of culture. The preschool is based in Reggio Emilia, which is sees the child as really the teacher leading the program, like what they're interested in. That's how the curriculum grows, through the interests of the children. And we see like the different classrooms are the world around us, the classrooms, the community, parents, and obviously the community are partners. Our preschool started in 2010 with 9 children, and now it has about 70. And it's full. There are a few openings in the afternoon. The morning is full, and PDO is completely full. And it's a wonderful 9 to 1 for kids to have a place to play and socialize. And there are many things that happen throughout the week. So those are all things that I think tell you what St. Mark's is. You know, I guess the things are remembering and renewing what our commitments are as a foundationally, but also finding that balance guide us forward. Well, anyway, those are my remarks this morning.
Is our front door open all the time or just?
You mean unlocked or open?
Unlocked.
No, and the reason is that particularly because of our preschool and our PDO, we have to have safety procedure precautions. So this door here is open as long as we have somebody in the office. And like right now, see how it's propped open? It stays like that most of the time.
Right.
And so when people come in, we have a security. But for the DCFS rules and safety, when the preschool and the PDO are here, all the doors are locked. And this door is obviously
Monitored.
Is monitored. Yeah. I mean, it would be ideal if we could have the building open all the time. But right now, like often the doors
Open a lot.
are open.
I mean, it's very rare that I come here and the door is locked. That's one of the things I love about the church. you know, there's so many churches that are like locked and bolted
Yeah, the church, right?
all the way around, so.
There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of just not being used, so. What I was gonna say about hoarding, St. Mark's has a hoarding problem. When I got here, when I first was touring, I love to go into closets because that's where you find out a lot. And they were just filled with, like, all this stuff was like put all over the place. What was
That
that?
happens in churches because nobody
Because-
takes responsibility for
Because there's
clearing them
different
out.
people.
Well, there's some
Right.
problems, like,
All right,
first of
so
all,
it goes
well, we
on
might
and
need
on.
that someday.
That's
Right? And nobody knows about that, and it's also this like fear, like we're poor and, you know, so, okay.
And
So we had like so many cleanings out and like, and it still comes back. Like, oh, is this?
So Jan Langford just pulled, I want to say 15 vases out of the top shelf in the sacristy, and they're going somewhere else.
Going to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
So I
keep on
should bring
top
my
of it.
extra
But
vases.
some of
Yeah.
Some of those things cost money,
She's
and
very good
people
about
look
that.
at the idea that if it's still good, it'll save money by keeping it.
And then it never gets used.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is if you have something, let's get it to somebody who can use it, so, but anyway, there were lots of broken vacuum cleaners. You know, maybe we could use the parts someday. Do you have an Electrolux or not?
Yeah.
It's just like me as a teacher, because every teacher's a hoarder except me, I'm a minimalist. So it drives me up the wall, because I'll be like, we don't need this, and my co-teacher is just like, well, one day, this is the curriculum we used 10 years ago, maybe we'll go back to it, and I'm like, we're not gonna do that, just throw it out. It's like, it's a very different mindset.
I think kind of.
All right, well, I'm gonna say goodbye to the Zoom. Laura, we'll see you.